some effect on our conference, especially on the list of the possible guests. Why I'm talking that? Because the idea for the title of that Sell Our Souls came from one Russian historian article which disclosed some NKVD Gestapo relations in trading Jewish lives during the period of Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact system. And that provoked us to say that for this particular conference we could have a very, very sharp targeted topic. And unfortunately, even our regular guest and participant, Ilya Altman, couldn't come. And somehow the title, the idea of the conference is getting more metaphoric, even if we got before that very straight idea to debate that cynical, hopeless, whatever challenges of the beginning of the Second World War.
Who decided on the title Sell Our Souls?
Sometimes Beria and Goebbels decided to whom to sell.
They know seller, but the title of the conference, I think, is very very telling.
I think that the author of that version is Lina Svenslavskas.
Because when I told my brother about it, he said, "Oh, it's a mistake. It should be Save Our Souls." I said, "No, I don't think so."
No. Even if we are not so good in English, in Lithuanian it doesn't sound like that. It's different. No chance to play that sense of words. Okay, I think that our first presenter is preparing the machinery as always, and that's a good time to introduce him. Arvydas Pakštalis is a historian and very unique in specializing in Kaunas local history. After some 5 books probably, different micro-historical topics. And what's even more important for our foundation mission and for our conference is that Arvydas Pakštalis is now working on the book which we just call in the code title Dutch Connection for Visas, of Visas for Life. And we hope that very, very soon we will have a Lithuanian version of that story about the emergence of this idea and the scheme. And later on, our foundation got a plan to translate that to English and make it available for the international audience. Are you ready? The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Sorry that I will be sitting also. Some at the beginning some basic facts that after the USSR occupied and annexed Lithuania in August 1940, all representatives of foreign countries in Lithuania have received notes that the activity of all foreign consulates in Lithuania must be stopped, and that the consulates are equally obligated to liquidate the officers by the same date, the 25th of August 1940. The British consul Thomas Preston has requested through the British Embassy at Moscow an extension of time until September 5th to complete the liquidation. On the 23rd of August, Preston informed the General Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, P.S. Glovatskis, that under the agreement with Moscow, the British consulate will be liquidated by September 5th. During that time, there is a plan to evacuate about 70 British citizens to Great Britain. On the 31st of August, it was almost clear that the evacuation would take place via Vladivostok to Australia. On the 3rd of September, President informed Director of the Political Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Juozas Jurginis, that after his leaving for Moscow on 5th of September, the liquidation of the consulate would be completed. He also informed that he didn't manage to evacuate the British citizens, and according to the agreement of the British Embassy in Moscow with Narkomindel, USSR Ministry of Foreign Affairs, an embassy officer will be sent to take care of the evacuation of British citizens. So British consulate at Kaunas was closed on the 5th of September 1940, but British diplomatic work was continued at Kaunas. In October to Kaunas came the Secretary of British Embassy in Moscow, Geoffrey Wilson, who finished the process of evacuation. So, in the first list of evacuees issued on 24th of August, Nahum Zev Dessler was added. He was a student of the Talshey Yeshiva. This is a certificate that he studies in the Yeshiva of Talshey. On September 1940, President of the Mir Yeshiva, Rabbi Abraham Kalmanovich, warned Americans about the situation in Lithuania. And he wrote that we have received communications from the other side that the students of the European yeshivas find themselves in extreme danger and threatened with exile in Siberia. So it's no wonder that Dessler didn't wait when evacuation will start. He had the Japan and USA visas and was able to leave early and reach America through Japan in 10th of October. Despite the fact that some others from the list also had the Sugihara visas, they had to wait. For example, Pinkus Berliner. He studied in Mir Yeshiva. When the war broke out, the British consul in Warsaw advised him to leave for Riga, where he lived some weeks, and then moved briefly to the Talshey Yeshiva. And later to Kadaini, so again to the Mir Yeshiva, because at that time Mir Yeshiva was temporary in Kadaini. Israel Joshua Chin also studied at the Mir Yeshiva from 1937. When the war broke out, he also left for Riga and later transferred to Talshey. It indicates that the first plan of evacuation was fought from Riga to Sweden. Montague Moore studied at the Mir Yeshiva from 1939. When the war broke out, he also left for Riga and later moved briefly to the Talshey Yeshiva and later to Yonova, to the Kletska Yeshiva, which dean was Aharon Kotler. Samuel Bloch studied at Kamenets Yeshiva from 1938. When the war broke out, he went to Vilnius and later to Raseiniai, again to the Kamenets Yeshiva that was at the time in Raseiniai. Sidney Davis and Chaim Gutnik were students of the Talshey Yeshiva from 1937. Bernard Silver started to study at the Kelm Yeshiva from 1930. He married Hannah Udvinaite in 1934. They had 4 children. In Kelme also lived the sister and the mother of Zev Dessler. They came to visit him on 1939 autumn and stuck there because of war. Samuel Schechter studied at yeshivas in New York and Mir. He came to Kelme in 1938. At the same year, to the Kelm Yeshiva came Nathan Nosson Fogel, who also before studied in New York and Mir. And here I must to stop for the moment and to mention that Rabbi Nosson Fogel later became a spiritual supervisor of Beit Midrash of Govoch in Lakewood. Before leaving Lithuania, he married Polish Jewish girl Chava Shlomovich. She also was a refugee. Evacuation started from Kaunas on 26th of October, and it's reminiscences of another person from the list, Lithuanian priest John Tamulis, and he writes that we were about 50 British subjects of various nationalities, English, Polish, Canadian, Jewish, Lithuanian, and other waiting on the platform for our departure. One could easily feel the desire of each to leave the country as soon as one can. And 26th of October, it was Saturday after Sukkot, which was Shabbos Bereshis. Rabbi Bernard Silver was very restless about that. He decided to ask Rabbi Avraham Dov-Ber Kahana Shapiro if it's possible to make the trip on that day. It is said that when he listened, when he rose from the table and gave a stamp with his foot and said, "You come to ask me such a question? All of you, get on the train tomorrow immediately. Don't you understand what's going on? It's a matter of life or death." So we traveled from Kaunas to Riga by train. In Riga we changed train to Vladivostok, and here we took the ship Raitan to Brisbane, Australia. Baltic evacuees arrived to Australia on 6th of December. Travel cost £50,000, all paid by Great Britain government. Australian authorities have been investigating the moods of the newcomers. This is what we learned about Rabbi Bernard Silver. And quotation is, Silver is very frightened and nervous individual and appears to be definitely of Jewish extraction. He is very hostile towards the Russians and states that since the Russians took over Lithuania, conditions went from bad to worse, and it was impossible for Britishers to live here. We were treated very badly by the Russians, and we are very pleased to get the opportunity of leaving Lithuania. Most of people I mentioned left Australia almost immediately. The money for the journey to United States were collected from local Jewish community. Victorian Jewish Advisory Board tried to find other sources of money to help those who stayed in Australia. They asked help from American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee and received answer which sheds light on the situation in Lithuania. So, quotation would be, the very Lithuanian yeshivas at which the rabbinical students now in Australia enroll is an excellent example of this type of emergency program. When the Soviet government absorbed Lithuania last summer, a group of several thousand rabbis and yeshiva students were placed in jeopardy. We were not permitted to continue our studies, and in fact, we are given the alternative of becoming Russian citizens or being declared stateless. As you undoubtedly know, the Soviet system does not look with favor on religious training of any kind. The rabbis and students pleaded with the GDC to evacuate them from Lithuania and likewise to remove the personnel of number of Polish yeshivot who had fled to Lithuania when Poland was invaded. At the same time, a number of labor leaders who were likewise in jeopardy required the help of the GDC in leaving Lithuania. By dint of extraordinary effort, the GDC has been able to effect the immigration of some 1,400 of these personalities from Lithuania to Japan. This effort has cost the GDC about $150,000, in addition to large sums for maintenance of these people in Japan. We are currently being called open to supply $40,000 monthly for relief to refugees of this and other categories strained in Kobe and Yokohama. And I was thinking about how to finish my presentation, and I couldn't think of anything better than to quote Rabbi Shlomo first and Rabbi Shea Aaron. And quotation, Kelm was destroyed, but its final lesson to live our Kikudush Hashem endured. With the destruction of Kelm, the world became an infinitely darker place. The flames of Kelm may have been snuffed out, but some glowing embers remained alive. The color of white flames, the predecessor of basement Medrash Govocha in Lakewood, was one such place.
Thank you, including your efforts to save our conference time. And you got some reserve of minutes and any questions, please.
You're ending this piece right here is alive right here, as Rabbi Aaron Kotler's grandchildren are here, and we're intimately related to a number of people. Dessler, my brother Rabbi Aaron Kotler's son is married to Rabbi Dessler's granddaughter, and a lot of people are familiar with probably every single one of them. And at the end of the day, we survived, we're here, and we're thriving. That says it right there, beautiful. Thank you very much for your presentation.
It sounds very sensitive because the researchers and the heroes of the story somehow are together. This is very sensitive.
And I must say that I didn't plan.
You spoke from the heart, is what you're saying.
It's like a few days ago, I was reading about Rabbi Fogel, and yeah, basement Midrash Govocha. Sounds familiar. Program. Okay.
Actually, his granddaughter is married to our nephew. So besides that, he was in the yeshiva that grandfather started, we're related also. So it's very personal. Thank you.
Any more questions? If not, then thank you again for your presentation, and